Hey D&D fam. I'm Quick.
And I'm Lee, and you're listening to
Divas and Ducats. So what is a diva? I think divas get a bad rep. But to me, diva is all about the attitude.
As for ducats, it's your finances, your assets, Skrilla, guap, your coin. We're talking all things with the potential to affect your pockets.
And while we're attorneys by trade, we are divas by choice. Divas and Ducats is for edutainment purposes.
Y'all, we are not Series 511 or 703 professionals. This does not create a financial advisor or attorney-client relationship. The views expressed here are solely our opinions and the opinions of our guests.
It's just our opinions, y'all. Okay, divas, let's talk ducats.
Hey, D&D fam.
Hello. Yes, we are back with part 2. What is on the Diva docket today?
So today we are still talking dating potential, but we're getting some married women's perspectives. Mm-hmm. As we said before, we wanted to be real and raw, but we didn't want to just be biased as single women, well, single-ish. So we, the second installment, we are getting a different perspective and introducing a new energy.
Yes.
So without further ado, we're going to let our guests introduce themselves and just tell us what they do, how long they've been married, and anything they'd like to share. So we'll start with Charity.
Hello, good people. What's poppin'? I'm Charity Griffin. I'm an assistant professor of psychology at Winston-Salem State University, nationally certified school psychologist and a licensed psychologist. And I have been married to my life partner for 8.5 years, and we have 3 kiddos. A 5-year-old, he just turned 5 a couple weeks ago, a 3-year-old, and a 6-month-old.
Yes. Hands full.
So, a lot going on in my house.
And Ashley?
Hello, Divas, and thank you so much for having me. Feels so good to be here. I have been married for about 6.5 years, almost 7 this year. I'm stretching it because it won't be 7 until October, so I'll stick with the 6.5.
We're claiming it.
So married for 6.5 years. I have 1 child, BJ. He is 3 years old and an entire handful. And when I'm not being a mom and a wife, I am an HR professional. So I am an assistant director of human resources, and that keeps me very busy. Very excited to be here and can't wait to get the conversation started.
I know. We are so excited to have you both. Y'all know I am team boy, so I love that y'all have the little ones, right? That's such a fun. 3 is really, really funny. It's the age of no. They get to talking back.
Big no.
But it's still that's still the age where they want to kiss you. At 8, they kind of like.
They sweet.
So, let's get into why we brought you ladies on. So, today we're going to be talking about dating potential from the married woman's perspective. Because often, like I said, for me, this was important because we often get dating potential from singles to singles, right? Yeah. And I think sometimes that information can be a little skewed because you don't know what a person's true motives are. To me, it's almost like the, millionaire matchmaker that has never been married. But why you can't match yourself? So I've always been, I don't understand it. So for me, it was really important to get married perspectives about dating potential because obviously whatever you were looking for ended you in ultimately a marriage. So that's why it was important for me. So let's get into, I know y'all both have talked about how long you have been married. Charity, tell us how you met your husband.
So, I consider myself, I'm just a real Mr. Ratchet type of person. So I met my husband on Black Planet.
Okay.
You remember Black Planet, like going way back?
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I used to have like my Usher music. I think it was something. I can't even remember what the song was, but I had like my Usher music playing in the background on my page. Little song lyrics. I had like a little rap that I wrote. Like
your Black Planet page was technology enhanced.
Right. Like all this stuff like on my page, I was just out there, right? You know, on my little page. Now, mind you, this was in high school. So let me take you back. This is in high school.
Okay.
So I was a junior in high school. My husband is a couple years older than me. So I did a slight catfish. I was who I said I was, because I mean, I'm me. But I told him that I was a little older than what I was, because he was at ECU.
Okay.
He was a freshman in college.
Okay.
And I was in high school. So, you know, we just, you know, talking and a lot on AOL. Y'all remember AIM?
Yes.
AIM chat? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going way back. Right?
way back.
With the acronyms, ASL.
That AOL Instant Messenger. So I had my little Yoshi little picture up there, and I can't remember what his picture was, but he would always call me Yoshi, and we would talk on AIM. Because, you know, we noticed he knows my avatar all the time, and he would hit me up. And then when I would have like some trials in my relationships in high school, you know how we think we're doing this in high school, but we really ain't. But, you know, I would talk to him because I wanted a guy's perspective. So he was like that go-to dude, like, yeah, you know, I'm kind of feeling this dude, da-da-da-da.
Wow.
So we did this for years, y'all, like all the way through undergrad. So I actually went to undergrad with Lee. So all through college, I had never even met him face to face. My first year of grad school, we hit each other up, just a random conversation, and that's when Facebook began to have the feature where you could see who your mutual friends were. And I saw that he was mutual friends with one of my close childhood friends. It's like my god brother. So I said, oh, maybe he is like a real person. Like, let me ask. Because again, I had never met this dude. I had just been talking to him online for years. I knew I kind of liked a lot about my age, so I'm like, he could just be lying about his whole personhood. I don't know. So, like, I had to hit up my god brother, right? Because I had to make sure this dude was a legitimate person. Like, I had to make sure he wasn't catfishing me. Like, you know, you say you are. So I hit him up, and I'm like, you know, do you know this dude? You know, do you know Maurice? He's like, yeah, that's my roommate. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, small world.
Yeah.
So I started asking about him, and he's like, you know, he's a great guy, and he was saying all these things about him. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's not a serial killer. You know, he's a legit person. Like,
I mean,
this is cool, you know. I have been enjoying our conversation online all these years. So
all these years.
We got to talking, and he threw something out there one day. We were on the phone. He was like, yeah, you know, how about I come visit you? He was actually in grad school at SUNY Albany, and I was in graduate school at the University of South Carolina. So I was like, I mean, well, if you gonna, you know, get on the flight and come see me, then come see me, you know. Okay, you know, I'm worth it. Okay. You know, so he ended up booking the flight and coming down, and we spent the weekend together. We went to the movies, we went to Olive Garden, and we like shut Olive Garden down. Like, the waitress was like, you know, ma'am, so we're closing. Because we were just having a good conversation. And really, the rest is history. I mean, you know, he came down there one weekend and fell in love with me because I'm me. And
I love it. He caught flights and feelings.
Right. Listen, catch the flights, boo. Catch the flight.
How about you, Ashley?
Yes. So, Charity, first of all, I didn't know that your husband went to SUNY Albany. So, shout out to UA. That's my alma mater, so that's dope.
Another small
Brian
world.
and I met at a family cookout, actually. So I'm a New York native.
Okay.
And I have family in North Carolina. So I have family that live in the Raleigh area.
Okay.
And so I was coming down one weekend to visit my aunt, and she wanted me to go to this cookout with her. She said, hey, can you come to this cookout with me? It's for one of my babies. So she used to work in a daycare.
Okay.
And so the kids who she worked with, she still keeps close contact with them.
Yeah.
And so one of her babies was graduating from college. And so I said, yeah, I'll go to the cookout with you. And she said, I'm just going to let you know, it's going to be country. So before we go, I need you to know, don't go in there acting New York. And so, of course, I was offended.
Well, fix your face.
Right.
So we go to the cookout, and I'm speaking to people, getting to know different people. Everyone's nice. I'm speaking to the graduate who is my now husband's cousin. And so as I'm speaking with her, I see this man, this attractive, tall man throwing the football to another guy. And so in my mind, I'm like, he is cute. So I said to cousin, who's that? And so she said, oh, that's my cousin Everett. So that's what they call my husband. And so I said, oh, cousin Everett. And so she ended up telling cousin Everett that I thought he was cute. And so he then approaches me, and he introduces himself. And before all of that transpired, I remember asking her, I said, okay, so what's the catch with cousin Everett? Is this too good to be true? How many kids does he have?
Right.
Which McDonald's, Taco Bell, so where he working?
Right.
And so I remember her saying he's in law school. And so I said, okay. So immediately I'm like, okay, he can read. That's a plus. He's in law school. He can carry conversation. He might be a little analytical. Okay, I can work with this. So cousin Everett walks over to me. He introduces himself. At the end of the night, we all went out for drinks. And when we were at the bar, and we meaning his cousin and the few people from the party, when we were at the bar, he and I just talked the entire time. It was as if no one else was there. And so at the time, of course, I lived in New York and he was in North Carolina. He was in Charlotte attending law school. And we did the long distance thing.
Okay.
And we did that for a little while. And he proposed. I moved. And the rest is history.
Yes. I hear a lot of y'all shutting down these venues. So one of the things, and I think really for me, that was why my part of why I wanted to do this series is that even as, you know, single women, Quick and I disagree on, you know, put this whole subject.
Right.
Like there's not a lot of space. Well, I won't say it like we beefing, but there's not a lot of areas where we necessarily agree on dating. But one thing we agree on is the definition of potential. So, you know, those who have watched the first episode know Ashley's husband thinks he coined hobosexual, so let's give that to him. But Urban Dictionary has this term hobosexual that I like to use, that is that person who really just needs somewhere to stay. And they go from relationship to relationship to as a means of habitation. And so we agree, Quick and I, that potential is more so you may not be where you want to be, but you're working on it. You can see some action and some steps and progress in terms of that. And we also agree, you know, with people's example, Barack Obama was not potential. Barack was Barack.
Let's clear that up.
Yeah. I mean, he was in law school at Harvard and president of the Law Review. We knew he was going places. Just saying. So, in your words, though, as our guest, we kind of want to know, you know, when you were dating, what did dating potential mean to you? And, you know, did you consider yourself more so potential, or maybe some of the people you were dating? Like, what were your thoughts around that?
That's a good question. Like, I don't know if I thought about this idea of potential in my dating life. Okay. So, like I said, like I met my husband when I was in grad school. So I was pursuing my PhD. This was my first year in grad school, and he was getting his master's degree in Africana studies.
Okay.
So, I mean, being a PhD student, I was broke. Now, broke in the sense that I had a full ride, so I got paid $15,000 a year.
Okay.
And I didn't have a family. It was just me.
Yeah.
So I had a nice little apartment, 1 bedroom. I mean, it was nice. Like, fully furnished. So, I mean, you couldn't tell me nothing. But, I mean, in monetary standard, I mean, making $15,000 is broke.
Right.
And so my then, I guess, internet friend was also a grad student. So, I mean, it's not like he worked at Lids.
Yeah.
So making, you know, probably minimum wage. I don't even remember what he was making then. So, I mean, it's not like he was pulling in money.
Yeah.
So for me, it was more so just like our vibe, like that. That to me, that was the potential.
Gotcha.
Like the potential for building a friendship and to be around somebody that I don't get tired of. And I think that's what kind of played out that first weekend when we met each other for the first time in person. It was more so having the conversation, and we did not get sick of each other. Like ever. It wasn't like, dang, I wish you would go home. When his return flight, when you leave, like it was like, yo, I don't want you to leave. So for me, that was the big thing about potential, because I didn't necessarily have a lot of money, and he didn't. We were both grad students, so I mean, I guess in a way you could say that we're going to do something with our lives if you place value upon your future, on your level of education. I mean, if that's what you value. Since we're both grad students, but yeah, so that's kind of how I saw it. It wasn't necessarily about the financial aspect for us at that time in our life.
Ashley?
Yeah, so I think in terms of what I looked at as potential then, I think it's very different than, I shouldn't say very, I think it would be slightly different than what I would look at as potential now, because then I was at a different point in my life. I was in my mid-20s, and I had dated, I had been dating, and I had been in a serious relationship. And I still felt like, I was still fairly young. And so what I was looking for then, I think it might be a little bit different to what I would look for potentially now.
Gotcha.
So I can speak to my perspective from mid 24-year-old Ashley.
Right.
I had established in my mind, established my little miniature career. Okay. I had a little decent job, a little corporate America job, and was making a little money. I had an apartment, and just hanging out with my girls, living my best life. Right. And I remember dating, and at that time I was dating because I was bored and wanted company. I was dating because full transparency, this is 24-year-old Ashley. I wanted to go out to eat, and I didn't want to pay.
I hear
when you want somebody to take me out to eat?
I mean,
you want to go out? You free? Oh, okay, yeah, let's go. I don't feel like paying for. Again, 24-year-old me.
Right.
So I think from a potential standpoint, right before I met my husband, I want to say maybe about a year before that, I was in a relationship, and that relationship taught me what I didn't want. And so I remember exiting that relationship and praying and being very specific in my prayers, down to saying, Lord, I want somebody that I can cook with. And I want somebody that I can try new recipes with. My husband absolutely loves to cook. He absolutely loves to try new recipes. Wow. So I remember at that point in my life being very specific in my prayers and what I wanted. I don't really remember placing an emphasis so much on what the man was doing from a career standpoint, as long as he was doing something to support himself. And I respected him, that's all that mattered. That was all that mattered at that time. So yeah, I think from a potential standpoint at that time, I would say potential was just somebody who treated me well. And again, I knew what I didn't want.
Gotcha.
From my previous relationship.
I love that. Yeah. And so I know both of y'all talked kind of about, where y'all were education wise, like you had your apartments and, careers and the money, but what did you feel at that time, qualities wise, that you had to offer a mate?
That we had to offer.
Yeah, that you had to offer your husbands.
Can you see me, Ashley? this us.
Hey, okay. Do I need to twirl? I mean,
so I mean, for me, I always take the approach that relationships are partnerships. So growing up, my parents have been married for over 30 years. And throughout their marriage, I have seen this dynamic where they both take care of each other. There were times in their relationship where my dad was the breadwinner, and my mom wasn't working or was working part-time so she could take us to school. And then when my mom went to graduate school and she was doing her thing with school, my dad was the one that was always coming to my games to see me cheerlead. So I saw this dynamic where, and then my mom became the breadwinner, so like I saw it go back and forth in flux. And so I guess, of course, when you become sometimes what you see, and,
right.
and your expectations are set based on what you see.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of set the stage for me going into like dating, is not necessarily thinking about things like income and what I would make in terms of potential, what was their earning potential. So I felt like I had to offer that. Like, I want a partnership. It doesn't matter about, what you're doing, like what you make, as long as you're happy. And as long as, we can provide for ourselves. That's what I want. I want a partner. I want somebody that I can have fun with, to build friendships with, to just kick it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you want the romance and all that good stuff too. And, I'm pretty sure we're going to start talking about that. But, I mean, so for me, I think like a true partnership,
right.
Is what I had to offer, and not necessarily, and no judgment against some women who may feel that they need someone to provide for them in that way. That's perfectly fine. That's just never been me, and partly because I haven't seen that modeled in my parents' relationship.
Gotcha.
I respect that. Ashley?
Yeah, I think in terms of what I had to offer, I knew or had a really good sense of what I wanted for myself and for my future. And it was a certain level of stability that I felt that I could offer. So he was in law school at the time, and he hadn't graduated yet. So I think when we met, he still had another year to go. He still had to take the bar exam. He still had to find a job. He still had to do all these things. So in terms of what I feel like I offered that stability. I was in my career. I was, like I said, I had a sense from a career standpoint of what I wanted to do, and I was already kind of in my groove. So I do feel like I offered that stability. And to Charity's point, outside of that, a true partnership. I really was looking for the quality that I was looking for in someone was a partner. So I don't need you to take care of me, because I can take care of myself. But what I can offer you, is this partnership, this stability. I could offer you this cooking. Thank you very much. Here's a meal. Here you go. Yes. I can offer you some great other things. There's some things that I can offer you.
Right.
So if you come to the table and you do your part, I could do mine. And it's something. I had an interesting conversation. Something very interesting came up the other day when I was speaking with someone. And one of the things that we talked about was being married and having a household that has two incomes. So if one person is not working or doesn't have a job, it's okay. You feel like everything is okay. It's not a big deal. That one person can take a break and they can just do them. And, oh, Ashley, if you ever want to take a break, you can, because you have a second. I don't look at it that way at all whatsoever. I do believe that we are a partnership, and some people may disagree with this statement. One of the qualities that I brought to the table was the ability to be able to take care of myself. And I don't personally ever want to lose that. So my husband is my partner, and I know if the cards all fell, he would be there for me. He got me. He'll pick me up. He'll hold me. He'll carry me. But there's a saying, when you have something to fall back on, you will always fall back. I don't ever want to get into this mentality of always falling back, because so in terms of what I offer, going back to the original question, I feel like that stability piece is a big piece, and that partnership piece is another big piece. So.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting when you talk about that, because for me, in my relationship, I often think about that as well. Kind of the same thing. Like I know I can take care of myself, and that is an attractive quality that he found because of his past and how he was raised and all the things. So it was very attractive to him that I could take care of myself, and I didn't necessarily, quote unquote, need him financially. But to me, and it kind of seems a little bit of the opposite of you, like I enjoy the fact, I want to know at least that if I decide to take off the cape, or, you know, I decide I need to fall back, that I can. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think to me, for me, just even knowing that blanket is there is important.
But quick, what I'll say to that, so completely understood. I guess my comment to that would be, I get it and I hear you and I understand it, but do you think that it's fair to, so you know that you can take off your cape, right? That's important to know that you don't always have it under control, and your man could just pick you up because he got you. So that's an important feeling to have. But if you did decide to take a really long break, and you know you're kind of falling back, how do you think that would make him feel? Like, if everything is now on him, and it's something that's not, it's by choice, right? So it would be different if you guys talk about it, and you agree for 6 months I'm going to do something a little different. But if you just felt like you wanted to take your cape off and have your cape off indefinitely and just fall all the way back. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
No, I understand. Like, from that perspective, I would never do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not, and I guess that is what they can rely on, because they know that not with women that would just do that. I'm not going to just come home one day and you be like, oh, you quit your job?
I say, I quit.
Like, that never happened.
You know, go pull a Rochelle. I don't need this. My man has 2 jobs.
No, that's not even in me. So yeah, it would definitely kind of be a conversation like you were saying. So yeah, I mean, you do have to think about that. Like, how would your man feel? You know, because it's a partnership.
Yeah. And you all have kind of spoken on especially because you met your spouses when, for Charity, she was still in school herself, but both of them were still kind of like, you're in school. No one really has it together in school. Right. But I did want to, and Charity, if you haven't answered this, of course, but I did want to kind of ask Ashley, because I think it's something that comes up with like professional women, and people are getting married older, so they might be, further along in life in terms of their career paths. Did the fact that, I guess, he had to overcome all these things, the bar, find work, etc., things that you had pretty much already done, was that something that, I don't want to say bothered you, but how did you, I guess, what was your perspective on that? Or did you feel, I guess, in a way, I guess, for lack of better words, did that kind of bother you? Or did you feel a way about, like, I'm all right, I got it together, and I got to, kind of wait on him to kind of get there?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I had complete faith in him. I had complete faith in him. I had faith that he would do great things because I saw his drive. I saw his desire to want to do. I saw how motivated he was. So I never felt that way at any point. I knew that I was confident that he would hold his end of the bargain all the way down because of the type of person that he was.
Right. Yeah.
So I never felt that way. And I think people get, and I'm sorry, I might be getting into one of your next questions. But while we're on this topic, I think sometimes people get caught up, I think, in what other people have to say about their situation. Yeah. So if you are either with somebody who's in school right now and they don't really have it, or you're with somebody and they might be making a little less than you, or people get really caught up in what other people have to say about that. And I think where other people's opinion matters is when you're not confident in your situation. When you are confident in your spouse and you know he's got this, what everybody else says, one, it doesn't have as much weight, and two, when other people see how confident you are in your man, they rise to the occasion. They rise to the occasion, and they start to respect that. So you have to exude that confidence that you have in your man. One, and two, it's important to make sure that you are not letting people influence you too much from the outside. Trust yourself. Stay true to yourself. You know your situation. You know what's working for y'all. You know that you have faith in your man and he got this. And guess what? If he doesn't, you're going to hold him down and y'all going to get it together. So it's just having that faith.
Yeah. And I think it's beautiful. Yeah, I was just about to say, for those who didn't watch part 1, Charity's husband actually did part 1, right? So please go back and look at that video so you can, kind of understand what I'm about to say. But he was talking a little bit about how he was the one that relocated. He, and that your career had a kind of like a set trajectory. So I think you can also kind of speak to, like, was there any kind of feeling of, well, he's going to have the one to move. I'm going to have to, be the one to step up. And did you have any kind of negative feelings about it at all?
That's what I was going to get ready to comment on. So, I mean, I think, so again, like I said before, he was in graduate school and he moved down with me. So, I thought I was doing my things. I had my own apartment fully furnished. And, like, he came down with, like, a laundry basket full of clothes and, like, I think like some weights or something. And I'm like,
It's so random.
Like, he had nothing, he a dude. Like,
they don't have much.
That's a weight.
He had nothing. Like, no furniture, no nothing. I mean, which I guess wasn't a bad thing because, again, I had a fully furnished place.
Right.
It's not like what we have done with that furniture anyway.
Right.
So, and then he got a job. Remember I told you he was working at Liz. So he ended up transferring his Liz position to a location in Columbia, South Carolina. And so, mind you, we met Super Bowl weekend when he came down. This was like February, 2010. And he ended up moving in with me by that summer. So now we've only known each other face to face in person for like 4 months. And he's moving in. We lied to our parents about, we should be shacking up, but got old two parents, so
right?
They don't even know. They're like, I'm like, oh yeah, he's coming down. He has another place. He stays around the corner. No, he stays in my house. In my apartment.
Right. But, Charity, now they know.
Right.
Right.
Hey, Mom.
On the internet. We married now. We got
right with 3 kids.
Right. It worked out.
All right, it worked out. But like sometimes in those moments, I wouldn't say that I like felt any type of way. I mean, for me again, it was just always like the partnership. Like he went to Liz, and that small check he was making, he made sure it went to what it needed to go to and what he could afford to pay for.
Right.
And again, it's not like I was falling out of control either. But when we got married, so we dated for like a year, then got engaged and stayed engaged for like 10 months. So I think it was maybe like a period of 2 years in between the time that we first met each other in person and the time when we literally said I do was like a little over a year and a half. So I think a lot of people thought like, what? She is crazy. Because even when we got married, he was working at Walgreens because he still did not have a position. Like he didn't have anything yet.
Right.
And so I'm still in grad school. He's working at Walgreens. But I was in love. And I'm like, I don't care, to Ashley's point, what y'all think. Like, listen, the love is good and the loving is good.
Okay.
I'm married, y'all. We passed that. But I mean, just to be, we're here to be honest.
Right.
So, and he was my partner.
Right.
So I just felt like when I was with him, I felt like I could be and do anything. And I still feel that way. So, I mean, it wasn't like snap, I got to take care of him or him feeling like at any point he got to take care of me. It was just, we got each other. And it is what it is. And I don't care what y'all say. Yes, my man work at Walgreens in the photo section. That's what in grad school to get my PhD.
Why did she say it like this? Not the photo section, really?
It's true. It's so true.
Yeah.
People get so caught up. People get so caught up in what everybody else is saying.
Yeah. And I
That's
remember
your downfall.
that. I remember
Getting
that
caught up in the mix.
Charity was like, he moved up. I was like, what? Like her undergrad friends? I was like, and again, because at the time, online dating wasn't not common. So it was like, he might be crazy.
Right. Yeah.
But, I mean, we love him. But, like at the time, it seemed really fast. But, hey.
How long
it was very fast.
How long did y'all date, Ashley, between meeting and I do?
Oh, yeah.
We dated, we met in 2012 and we got married in 2014.
Okay.
So we dated for 2 years.
About the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we officially said I do.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. We got engaged, I want to say it was about a year.
Okay.
a year and a half-ish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned earlier, you were saying the 24-year-old you, with how they would define potential and what you view now. And I'm assuming you're talking kind of like values. What you value then versus what you value now has changed. How so?
Oh, quick. Oh, how so? See, the game has changed.
Right.
The game has changed. Yeah. Your girl got stuff to lose now. Now I got things to lose. So now the potential has changed.
Right.
You have, I don't know if y'all bleep out the curses, when you have shit to lose, you start to just kind of think a little bit different.
Right.
A little bit differently. I think at the core, so I'll start off with what is still the same. Mm-hmm. I think at the core, when I think about potential, it's still someone who treats me like I am their most favorite girl in the world, mm-hmm. right? And I do feel like my husband treats me that way. Mm-hmm. So it's somebody who respects me. It's somebody who I can truly partner with. Mm-hmm. It's somebody who I can truly trust. Mm-hmm. I have to be able to trust you with my life. Mm-hmm. I trust my husband with my life. Mm-hmm. And I mean, dating potential, that might be a little strong if you're on your first date and you're looking at him and you're like, can I trust you with my life? It's a little strong at first. Right. But when I think about the package holistically and in terms of those things at my core, if I'm looking to seriously pursue someone, mm-hmm. those will be the things that I think will be at my core before I got really serious with it. I think the shifts or the things that have changed over time I think it's the type of drive that I looked for back then mm-hmm. versus now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you 24, 23, you're trying to figure some things out. And, when you're 33, you're 34, you got to have a little bit more of a plan.
Right. Facts.
And it's okay if it's taking you a minute to get there. Yeah. But you just got to be clear with mm-hmm. me in terms of where is it that you're trying to go. Right. So I think that probably would be one of the biggest changes when I'm thinking about potential is there needs to be a little bit more of a plan. Mm-hmm. So expectations have shifted in that regard. I think I remember saying before, and I made the joke earlier around, how many kids does he have? How many kids? the 30 some odd year old me, if you have a child, okay.
It's understandable,
because guess what? We in our 30s and we got kids. So,
right, life happens.
Okay. So I think life has happened. Mm-hmm. So I think just a shift in maturity and the way of thinking has changed. Mm-hmm. So I think some of those things that I might have said absolutely not to before, right. I would say okay, mm-hmm. yes to now because we're a little older. Yeah. But the things that I feel like are at the core of like just the foundation of what I need in somebody, mm-hmm. that hasn't changed.
Yeah. Got you. Yeah.
And I feel that. I think when I think about just how I've matured, I agree with this idea of like how the core has stayed the same. Mm-hmm. I think something that's big for me in thinking about potential is consistency. Mm-hmm. So like, okay, we all evolve as people. Like we're just talking about ourselves, like, because we mature, what we were looking for in our 20s is certainly different in our 30s. Yeah. But I want a partner that is consistent in the way they are able to appreciate me mm-hmm. through my ups and my downs, mm-hmm. like through my pretty and my ugly. And mm-hmm. I think that's just so critical. I mean, it can just be, when you talk about marriage and we keeping it real, it can be a lot of ugly. And I'm not even talking about like trauma stuff. I'm just talking about ugly in the sense that I birthed 3 of his babies and he was there looking at me pushing out all his babies. Mm-hmm. And he still is sexually attracted to me. Right. Thank God. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, to just keep it real. Like, mm-hmm. I'm on hands and knees pushing out a baby and he still wants to screw me. Like, mm-hmm. that's just a lot of stuff. Like, so I need that consistency. Like, you can take me when I'm glammed up, mm-hmm. Big face, photo shoot ready, mm-hmm. but you can also take me when, we've been social distancing in the middle of a pandemic and my hair tied up and I ain't got my brows done and they got my laundry twisted. Yeah. Like, you ain't feeling no type of way. I ain't got to worry about you looking at somebody on Instagram. Like, you don't have to worry about that because your love for me is consistent. Right. Your appreciation of me and my womanhood is consistent. Mm-hmm. And so like that's to me something that has just been so critical for both of us. Like no matter how we may change in our outer appearance and how we evolve as people, because you're gonna change. Your person is just gonna be different. You know, you're a different person than you are from your 20s and 30s, and it will be different in our 40s. But that still, despite that, it's gonna be consistent in terms of how I appreciate him as a man.
Yeah, I mean that's real.
It is, and I think sometimes that we get, like, because y'all kept saying what you want in your 20s is different from what you want in your 30s, but I think sometimes people get stuck and it's not different, right? Wow. Like they still want in their 20s, like you were like, McDonald's, you know. Now in 30s, I can completely understand that, but
is he the manager? I mean,
right, and that's what I'm saying. Like she was like, there's got to be some evolution. You know what I'm saying? You can't be the fry guy at 40.
That's evolution. You went from the fries to the manager. That's progress.
I love it. Regional manager. Let's do it.
You know.
But you know, some of the more, I don't necessarily even want to call them shallow, because if those are your standards, those are your standards. But it looked like Ashley, like you said, you know, he was throwing a football and you turned, you know, so you saw body, looks, height. It was an immediate attraction. Charity, you kind of friends on your boo. You know, you friends on.
He's an internet boo.
Right.
I want to know, man.
But a lot of people like will not date all the other qualities that y'all are listing and saying actually matters in a marriage to make those years to be happy and to continue. Like, if he ain't tall enough,
he doesn't fit a type.
Yeah, if he doesn't fit some type, usually, you know, and those types usually fall into height, skin tone. I don't know if skin tone is still a thing, but skin tone. Okay, so skin tone, build, and income, education, right? And y'all kind of already talked about those things because, you know, where you were, where they were. Yeah. But did people, and you know, Ashley, you talked about other people not getting in your ear, but did y'all have to deal with other people in your ear?
I didn't let that happen.
You shut it down.
I'm shutting it down.
Okay.
I'm shutting it down. Like you said, well, swerve. So I think it. So to answer your question, no.
Yeah.
No. No. Okay. So I think it's what you allow, though.
Yeah.
It's what you allow.
Yeah.
I cannot stress the point enough of having, when people see that you don't have that confidence in your relationship, they feed and thrive off of that. Oh yeah, girl, no, you don't. He's not.
Blood in the water.
Look, he's not doing X, Y, and Z. And no, you really want to be with him? Is that really who you want? And you're already in your mind questioning, well, he doesn't really have, you know, da 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 da.
Yeah.
So it's a recipe for disaster. So I say, and I will say it until I'm blue in the face, have confidence in yourself, in your relationship. If you are not confident in your relationship with this person, then is this really the person for you?
Right. Was that important to you, though? Like that type? I don't know if you had a type that, you know, it has to be a certain build, blah, blah, blah. Was that something that even like mattered for you?
If I pulled up the different fellas, and I'm not going to say that I dated in the past.
So their profiles look real different.
Very, look-wise, they're all very different. Different shades, different height, different builds. So I didn't have a particular, like I didn't have a list in my head of like physical, how this person needs to physically look. When he was throwing the ball, I just so happened, I looked, he caught my eye, and I was like, okay, he's cute. Oh, okay, he's real cute.
Yeah.
So I was immediately attracted to him.
Okay. Charity,
did you? I definitely think I had to deal with some stuff, but so I'm leaving out part of the story, and this is why I had to deal with some stuff. So Leandra knows, majority of my time in undergrad, I was dating one guy. So I had dated this guy maybe. So I'm a type of person that I do like monogamy. So, you know, I guess you could say I was a serial monogamous. Like I had my fun stuff too, but you know, I like relationships. So I had a guy that I was dating in high school for about 2 years, and that kind of spilled over a little bit into like freshman year of college. And then I had another guy around about the end of freshman year, sophomore year in college. I started dating until that first year of grad school. So when I met my now husband in person, face to face. So my parents, I'm talking about this other guy that I was dating had we traveled with me to see my family in other states, spent holidays with my family. I spent holidays with his family. So the perception was, I graduated college still dating this guy, that was going to be the man I was going to marry.
Right.
And people loved him. Right. My friends loved him. Leandra, like everybody loved him. Now, the guy was not for me, and I thank God. No shade to him. We just would not have been compatible. Like, he could not have handled me. Let me just say that. I'm a lot. I can be a lot. And so I think imagine my family and my friends, they come and they see like, who this new dude talking about my name?
Right.
So that was sort of the energy that I was brought with. Wait a minute. You don't even really know this dude. He just came to move down to South Carolina from Albany.
Right.
Okay. What? Yeah. Y'all don't even know each other. And so it wasn't like energy like, oh, he worked at Walgreens. Like, who is you do?
Right.
I can't believe he's moved to South Carolina for you. And then once the proposal engaged, y'all just met each other a few months ago.
Right.
What happened to dude that you dated for like 4 years? So
it was just a bit of shock.
I think that was just where again, like I didn't care because I live my life for me.
Right.
Pray about stuff, and my parents are also just very they respect boundaries. So they might just say they're one piece and then they're gonna move on from it. It's not gonna be a continual. So it was the question of, okay, well, do you really like him? Do you like it? They addressed the elephant in the room. They said, do you like him more than you like, and talked about my ex?
Yeah.
How do you feel those relationships compare? And I said, no, he is the one. He is for me. And after that, it was a done deal. Like they never even mentioned, even though I knew they liked the ex too, of course they now fell in love and, have fallen in love with my current husband, and they, that's their son and all that good stuff. So, I think it was just a matter of, like Ashley saying, being confident and knowing what we had. Yeah. And really not caring and knowing I'm going to live my life for what I want. And, I didn't have a type physically or anything like that. When he stepped off that plane and I was driving through the terminal and he came to the car, I was like, you look just like your Facebook picture, baby. You fine. I'm a beard gang girl, so he had the little, he was fine. I was very pleased with what I had saw when I met him in person.
Also, okay. Now this is one of the areas I won't say you and I won't say we disagree. I will say there's some nuance in terms of how we view the word provision. And I know we've kind of spoke around income and things like that, but I think different words can mean different things to different people. And I also think that Quick and I, to varying degrees, fell into that my daddy did this. And I think sometimes that can, depending on the times, that could be a little unrealistic when you think about the times, the economic opportunity, all of that. And so, but I do think it informs some of your expectations, right? How you grew up, what you saw for women, what you saw your dad doing, maybe for men, what they saw their mom doing. And so one of the things that I would ask you all, whoever wants to go first, is like, how did you all define provision? Because I think for a lot of people that might come down to dollars and cents, whereas for other people that includes other things.
I definitely think it includes other things for me. So again, we just keeping it real. I make a lot more money than my husband.
Okay.
Now, my husband makes good money. It's not bad money, but I make more than him. But there's a reason why I'm able to do that. It is because he provides for me in ways that are not monetary. For instance, I don't ever have to worry about cooking, ever. So, like today, we were talking, but before we started recording, my husband came and brought home some food for me. Like, I don't even have to worry about, the arguments of what you want to eat, babe. Like, he's going to cook. He's going to be the chef. He enjoys cooking. I personally hate cooking. I love cleaning. I'm a cleaner. I just like everything in order. And, so I'm the cleaner. I'll scrub your bathrooms and dust your baseboards and all that stuff. But so the way in which we function in our partnership, because we've been talking about actually not this idea of partnership, is that he's able to provide in ways that allow me to be my best self in terms of my career, and vice versa. Like, I am able to show up for him in ways that allow him to do things that he wants to do career-wise and pursue. It just so happens that what he's doing what he loves. It just so happens that perhaps the world does not value it in the same way, and so therefore his attached salary to that is less than mine. It's not that what he does is any less. You know what I'm saying? So in terms of income, but I think provision for me is just, how do you allow your partner, how do you create space for your partner to be their best selves? And so he provides that, because there is no way, like people like to, sometimes say like, well, how do you, you're a professor and you have 3 kids and you publish and you do interviews. There is no way I could do any of that if I did not have him as a partner. No way. Like it just wouldn't happen. So I wouldn't be who I was. And I think God knew that. It was intentional that we needed each other, like 2 puzzle pieces that just fit perfectly together, because we both have these dreams and ambitions, and we're able to support each other in ways that just really make sense. I'm able to do what I need to do for him so he can go pursue the opportunities that he wants to pursue in terms of his career. So for me, that's what provision is.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
And I paused for a minute when I paused when you asked the question, because I didn't understand it. Provision, it seems so broad, right? I had to wrap my mind around it if I'm being real. I think, Charity, to your point, one of the things that, or how we operate in this house, is off of what would work best for us. So you mentioned something earlier, Lee, as you were asking the question, and that is people doing a lot based off of what they saw their parents do, and what they, maybe saw aunt and uncles do, or whomever those figures were in your life, that you look to, that married couple that you look to, whether that be aunt, uncle, or mom, dad. And I think one of the things that I just think about early on in our marriage, when we were laying the foundation and kind of laying out what we wanted to do from a financial standpoint, who was going to be responsible for managing X, Y, and Z, who was going to have, like, who was going to manage what role. I remember early on making it a point to not do what anybody else has done, but to really focus on what is going to work best for this house. And I think one of the things, Charity, that you literally hit the nail on the head, is there are things that my husband does that allow me to do what I do. There are things that he does, that I do, that allow him to do what he does. So I think it just, for me, it goes back to partnership, and giving each other the space and the time when needed, giving each other that support when needed, to do, for the other person to do whatever that they want, that they need to do or want to do, whether that is excelling or thriving on a work project, and needing to not have to worry about dinner, and not have to worry about picking up the baby, and not have to worry about anything. So it's respecting each other, and giving each other the space and the time to just do. And knowing, and it's a fine line. It's a fine line. But definitely making sure to give each other the space and the time. And just remaining a true partnership.
And I think so. Since we're on provision, because I know we're going to probably get into gender roles, kind of rolling off of this conversation, but in talking about provision, what would be your advice to people that, I want the 6-figure man, that kind of solely focus on income as the determining factor of a good man?
Honey, you're going to have to live a little. When I tell you that to me, it's about focusing on the love. Like, and I know it may have been easier for me to say that given when I met my husband, that time in my life. And so, like we talked about, if you're meeting somebody in your 30s or your 40s, it might be different. You might be in a situation where you're like, look, we got these grown people bills, so like you got to make grown people money. So I understand the practicality of it, but I think you're really limiting yourself and putting yourself in a box if you start saying that this is what the salary is that you have to make in order for me to deem you dateable, or for me to consider you as a person to have potential. Because what comes along with whatever salary? I mean, is the peen good?
Is it though?
Are they sexually compatible? Are they compassionate?
Right.
Are they trustworthy? You know, would they stay committed to you?
Right.
You know, like, I mean, there's so many other. It's like, what? And you can't just be so focused on the number. There's so many other things. To me, that should just be absolute deal breakers, and more so than a salary. A salary should never be a deal breaker because salaries come and go.
Yes.
Let me tell you, I mean, there's been things that my husband has gotten laid off a job. There's been times where I've been in transition just because of where I was in my training. You know, so I mean, salaries are gonna come and go. These other things, these character traits. I mean, people change, but them character traits, they might be, you know, something that lingers on. So you might want to make sure that there are many, many other things that are on your deal breaker list, and not, you know, a salary.
Right.
I second that 110%. I think, and I'll give an example. So I got married. It was 2014, and I moved to Charlotte. I had a little job. Brian had a job. He passed the bar. Oh, life is so good. Okay. And guess what happens right after we get married? Guess who lost their job? My husband. So if that was my main goal, if in my mind I was marrying a lawyer, and he needed to have he needed to make a certain amount, and he needed to stay employed, I would have just failed myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's a mistake. It's a huge mistake for someone to think that way. They are doing themselves and their spouse a huge disservice. So the whole 6-figure, you have a certain salary in mind, sis, let that go. Baby girl, let that go. I think there's a fine line between wanting somebody to be able to provide for themselves and be able to do what they need to do. I think it's a fine line between that and saying, no, you need to be making X amount of dollar so you can do X amount. Chill. If there are things that you want in your life, I think that you should be able to provide those things
for yourself.
Well,
there you go.
If you want them.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important along that same vein, because just because a person makes 6 figures doesn't mean they're going to give it to you.
Well, you know, we're going to have to do a whole live on where 6 figures
right,
goes.
Right. That
and they know how to manage it. They make 6 figures.
Can they manage
it?
We What's
that debt
like?
6 figures. Yeah. Y'all, that's not even, we are in 2021.
It don't go as far as it used to.
It does not, especially when kids get involved.
I'm telling you, the more money you make, the more expensive your taste becomes, and the more high you start spending more money. You start, so it ain't all.
And also sometimes that 6-figure comes with 6-figure debt. That's just
it does.
It does. There's that. So okay, one of the things, and we got into it a little bit with Maurice. So there's a word that I don't think the word in and of itself is negative. I think the connotation that has been attached to it has gotten a negative connotation. So the word submissive, right? It a lot of times, I think what people associate it, or how people define it, mostly men, how they define it has more so the connotation of subservient, right? So, you know, what does submissive mean to you? And do you consider yourself a submissive wife?
Are y'all submissive? Y'all obedient?
Do you and your partner submit to each other? So you saying obedient? That's not.
Okay, see, Quick, why you over here starting trouble? Talk about obedience. Because then you go ahead and sit up here, get upset, get mad, or cuss my husband. I didn't even do nothing wrong.
Look at her.
Because you over here saying things like obedient.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, she put the
back
V on that
back to she did. Back to submissive.
Yes.
I think one of the things that I mentioned earlier is that the trust factor, and me having to be able to trust you. I can fully submit to my husband, no problem, because I know he's got me, and I know that the decisions that he makes are the right decisions. When it comes, let me be clear. Let me back that up, because he has made some decisions on some paint recently. It wasn't the right decision, so let me be clear.
Okay.
Some of the more serious life decisions
are in y'all's best interest.
I know. When it comes to serious life decisions, I completely trust this man. So I don't have a problem submitting because I trust that he's going to do the right thing. And I would hope on the flip side, he wouldn't have a problem submitting to me when it comes to certain things, because he knows that I have his very best interest at heart. and he knows that I will do right by him. So I think it's just, it's when people say, oh, do you have to submit to your husband? If you trust this man, that's no question, right? Because you know that he won't ever abuse that. He's not ever going to have you submit and it don't make no damn sense. He's not going to have you submit and have you out here on the street or have you with no lights, no gas, no air.
Right.
Because he done went and spent the money.
Right.
You know, like, so if you have an issue submitting to him, then I would say ask yourself if you trust him.
Yeah. I like it.
Okay.
I actually got a real good answer. I don't know if my answer's all nice.
Well, you know, some of that career, that word flow with that career.
That's that HR. That's that HR.
She knows how to talk.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, Family Feud, good answer to that. Like, because, like, that's what it should be.
Right.
That's what it should be.
Right.
Like, I don't, and so I did not watch. I told Lee, I was like, I'm not going to listen, you know, watch, you know, the interview that y'all did with my husband Maurice, because I don't want that to bias my answer. So I don't know what you're thinking. But when you ask that question, I'm like, I don't know if he would consider me submissive. I don't know.
Go back and watch it. Go back and watch it, Cherry.
Listen. Answer that question directly. I mean, we are both such strong personalities. Like, and so to my point about, you know, why the other guy that was like, that wouldn't have worked because, you know, I'm a strong personality and he's a very strong personality. And so that can make for a very interesting moment. I mean, just to, you know, be honest, because we both like, you know, y'all know the gif where Diddy looking at the dude and
they looking back.
We both just like, so, I mean, I do know that I can say I have learned over the years, in this 8.5 years of marriage, to operate in ways that do not emasculate my husband. That was, I think, a struggle early on because my personality is so strong. And I'm like, the hell? I'm not doing, like, what? Excuse me? You know, but I think he liked that spice, you know, because obviously he was attracted to it. I mean, he knew what the spice was, you know, before he proposed. Right. So I think he's attracted to it. But again, it was a thin line between being true to me and not being emasculating, not be so dominating in a way where it then becomes something that does not turn him on. You know what I'm saying? Like, where it's just like, no, you're being difficult. Right. And I'm not talking about being difficult, you know, for being difficult sake, but just, I have a voice and I use my voice and he uses his voice. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, sometimes because we're just different humans, we agree on a lot, but then we also have different perspectives. And so, and that can cause naturally disagreements in terms of how we see and view things, how we might should spend money or where we want to go on a trip, you know. So I think, again, it's just all about balance. Sometimes what we've learned to do is we've learned to let each other win. I will say that. And so it kind of breaks it. Like, you know, sometimes he'll be like, look, babe, whatever you want to do, you know, you can do it. And then sometimes I'm like, babe, whatever you would like to do, you know, I'll let you do it. So then I guess it kind of circles around back to the point that Ash was making, and you know, that we are submissive to each other.
Yeah.
I love that.
And you'll be surprised. You should go back and watch that you're done. You'll be surprised at his answer.
I'm very curious.
I'll just say y'all know each other. That's all I'm gonna say. Y'all know each other.
Biting my tongue and not saying that. Maybe because I've been on my best behavior. You know, we provided a really good, you know, representation of who we are as a couple, because I just been, you know, real good.
He kept it real, and you have to.
He did keep it real. Yes. And that brings us to, we just have a couple more questions, but that, you said something that sparked one of our questions, was talking about, you know, being yourself but not emasculating your husband in the process. And I think, I don't like the word strong, especially with black women, because I feel like, first of all, I just feel like it's a stereotype, right? And I feel like it doesn't give us the room to be authentic. It's like this constant, you use the word cape. It's like I gotta constantly be together, and that's not real. Like, that's just not people every day. So I will say, as women, one of the things that words we kind of found ourselves with when we talked to Maurice was assertive. As black women, we have to assert ourselves differently, especially if, you know, you work in corporate America or academia. You have to present yourself differently to get the respect you deserve, to have your voice heard, etc. And so for you, did you have to learn how to balance that, maybe that assertiveness or the things that you had to do within your job or within life every day, and maybe how you approach your husband?
Yes. So, I mean, I'm a professor. I'm an academic. Like, I like to talk. People pay me to talk, and they want to hear what I gotta say. You know, I'm considered an expert when it comes to certain things. So I had to like really humble myself in my household, like, because it would be like, no, you're not an expert in here. Like,
Okay.
I mean, people respected me and
Right.
who I am as a professional, but it's like, now you can't be the expert on everything. I got a voice too, you know. So I had to learn how to temper that, and you know, he would check me in a respectful way.
Right.
So again, it was, you know, it's always mutual respect. But and that's what I needed though. I needed someone that would be assertive in return and be like, no,
not
this
today.
is how this is gonna work.
Right.
You know. So I mean, I think it was definitely a lesson that had to be learned. Because things like he would say sometimes, like, we're both intellectuals. Like, I will say that my husband is, if you've met Maurice, like, he is an intellectual, and that is one of the main reasons why I'm attracted to him. Him and that beard and that brain. Yeah,
beard, brain,
I love it. So you know, like, he would sometimes have to say, you know, babe, you being too woke right now. You're not in front of an academic audience. You can chill out, you know, because sometimes I just don't know how to turn things off, and I might nitpick something he say. Well, that's not the proper terminology. Why are you saying this? Let's unpack that. Let's unpack this. We eating dinner. I don't want to unpack it. I'm in my own. Can I just be a black man? You know, like, I'm just chilling. I know. But I don't want to unpack that right now. You know, so it was definitely like a learning curve, you know, over the years of like, how do you interact with your partner in ways, you know, because I wasn't doing it in my 20s. This is new me. This is 30-something-year-old me as I begin to establish myself in my career. And, you know, so I changed in that way. And so we had to then accordingly, you know, adjust ourselves in our relationship. So
yeah.
Ashley,
what was the question?
did you feel like you had to change, like, from your career, like being able to balance career and come home and kind of be able to take that off and not treat him like an employee, basically?
Oh, girl. So I had this charity. I had the same struggles in my house. So, and I remember. Let me just give an example, because I do better with live examples.
You better come on with your star.
What'd you say, Lee?
Come on with your star. Go on with your interview.
She loves a star.
Let me just right. Let me get real specific, and let me give an example. Let me give a real specific example. So I had some time off of work after I had my baby. So I was on maternity leave, and my company it was about 4 months. Then I took some time off unpaid. I was off for about 6 or 7 months. And so during that time, I want to say month 4, my husband looked at me and he said, it's time for you to go back to work, because you're bossing me around. You need somebody that you need to direct. You need somebody to give some instructions to. It's time for you to go back to work. So I do think I take, and because of what I do think I take a lot of, in my work, I was talking about my work voice. He's like, okay, we're sitting here, Charity, at dinner. Why do you have your work voice on? Like, if he's asking me for advice on something that he's doing, and if it's HR related, I'm going to say, no. You asked for feedback. Wait, how? No. Compensation adjustment. What? You said what? No. So this is how. And he's like, why you got your work voice on? So I think I do bring a lot of the career side of Ashley does tend to come home a lot. In terms of how I balance that, I think, was that part of the question? How do I balance it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I do that good of a job. You would have to ask him. I think I do okay. As Black women, and Lee, you hit it on the head. We have this thing where we need to be everything to everybody at all times, and we absolutely cannot fail at anything. Not at being a mother, not at being a wife, not at work, not at we can't fail at anything. And so I do tend to put a lot of pressure on myself, and I'm noticing that, and I'm trying to fall back a little bit, and I'm trying my best to balance, and hopefully I'm getting it right. I do these things called love check-ins with Brian.
Okay.
So Brian is my husband's name. I don't know if I made that clear at the very beginning, but I do these love check-ins with Brian. And so a love check-in is basically when we will go and do something. We will go somewhere. We'll usually go 2 places. It's the day off. We do not have the baby. Mm-hmm. It's just the 2 of us. And we'll do something that I want to do, and we'll do something that he wants to do. So our last love check-in, we went to a diner. I wanted to go to a movie. He wanted to go to the gun range. So during that love check-in, I will literally check in with him and say, do you still love me? How is this going? We still happy? I'm happy. You happy? How are things going with work? Everything okay at your job? Mm-hmm. How am I doing? Am I cool? We good? So I try to do those temperature checks for us to try to keep things steady, transparent, clear, to check in to see if I could be doing something better, to tell him maybe what I need. So super long-winded. But yeah, trying to strike that balance. It's ongoing, and just trying to check in with him to make sure that I'm not missing the mark. If it's something he's doing, make sure I give him that feedback. A little HR, turn around, you're going to get this feedback around your area to improve. So.
You put him on a pip, did you?
Girl, no. He nasty. He wanted to be put on the pip. He wanted to put him on the pip. He want me to put you on the pip. You get bad.
Well, this has been so enjoyable. So our last question, because we're asking the guys and we're asking the ladies. Yes. You often hear, well, women, we often hear, he made me so much better. Like, you made me so much better. And, husbands often tell their wives that. So I'm asking you, how did you make your spouse better? How do you feel like you made your spouse better?
And you want us to wrap this up quickly?
You like, let me start from where he was, Chad. 3 things. Tell me 3 things.
I'm gonna limit you to 3.
3 things.
Top 3.
3 things that you made him better at. Or how you made him better.
Absolutely. Number 1, finances. Financial planning. Listen. Oh my gosh. That man would do stuff like go to the corner store and this like buy a beer for $3, and I'm like, babe, just buy you a 6-pack for this amount. You gonna pay less per unit price. Stop.
Not unit price.
Yes, she did.
It doesn't make sense. If you know you gonna go to the gas station every night and get X, like when we first started, why are you not just buying it when we're at the grocery store?
For the week.
So just like making him think about the way that he spends his money. Like this is not
right.
How you do this. So I would definitely say finances. I think that I have forced him to communicate more. So my husband is very he's an intellectual, and he can be very stoic. Like just and Leandra probably can attest to it. Like he's just
he has like a male version of RBF. He has a male version of like resting bitch face. Yeah.
yes. Like if you met him, you probably like, yo, does he like even like him? Like, does he want to be here? Does he even like it? Like he's just gonna be straight face.
That's just his face.
Not really crack a smile. But I have taught him like how to be more emotive. Like how do you wear like your emotions on your sleeve? Like how do you communicate and express yourself in ways that I don't think that he was doing before. Now I will say that he was doing a lot with me, and that's why we ended up being good life partners, because he felt safe with me to do that.
Yeah.
But I've seen him do that with others, and so he's learned how to express himself to other people in ways that is not, of course, not the same as what he would do with me, his wife, but still in ways that are very different. And then let me see the third thing. Well, I would say, because, my dress game, before I had my 3 kids, like, my dress game was strong. And so I have fallen off a little bit. I got to get back on, especially since, we ain't been going nowhere. So I would say I gave him just that little extra drip in terms of his, like, shoe game, because I had a mean heels game. Now, baby coming with the shoe game, and it's just sexy to me. I'm sorry. Like, I like to see my man in his sneakers, and he got, he just be doing the little fits, and I just be like, what you got on today, babe? I like that drip. That's
say it's the shoes for me. Okay. Okay, Ashley, 3 things.
3 things. So the finance piece is that one hands down is number 1. So Leandra also knows that I'm the finance person in my home.
Spreadsheet.
I'm like very thorough with the spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. So my husband is a little bit more relaxed with it. So I think I made him better in that way. Mm-hmm. I think the second thing is also being more communicative. Mm-hmm. I am a talker. I like to talk. What's wrong? You good? Let's communicate. You need space? You need time? Just let me know. Okay. Mm-hmm. You good? You mad? Let's talk about it. How you feeling? Charity, let's unpack this. Come on, unpack it. Open that suitcase and get to unpacking. So I think definitely in that way. And I think the third thing is being more affectionate. Mm. He's a little bit more affectionate now that we're together. I don't think he's trying to get that affectionate. But he is outside of the door, so I did want him to come in.
Yes, bring him on in. Bring husband. He said he's going to get on this podcast.
Right.
Tell him to come
in. Bless it.
Brian.
So he's outside, so I did test him. I said, come on in. So we're finishing up. So the last question, so everybody, this is Brian.
Hey, Brian. He said he's coming in too. This is what it's about to be.
Yeah, we got company.
And BJ. Mm-hmm. So, Leandra, can you pose the last question? I'd love to hear from his perspective.
It was, how did she make you better? 3 ways.
How did she make you better?
Like 3 ways?
3.
I know there's so many.
Yeah, there's so many, right. One, from a finance and business perspective, she helps put things in scope. You know, I don't think I had necessarily had that discipline coming into it, so I can appreciate her, you know, for that. Mm-hmm. 2, she brought me, I guess, into the world of travel. I didn't really travel. I didn't care anything about that. You know, just kind of having new experiences. So now I see value in that. So that was pretty big for me. And then 3. It's tough. Giving me space and freedom to kind of be myself too. So like that's another thing. I don't feel necessarily that she's like overbearing and like the boss, you know, like you might see on TV or maybe in other people's relationships. So you know, I feel like I have some autonomy. So
I love that.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Brian.
So that was one of them, yeah.
So,
I didn't get you prepared, but
you did good.
Those are great answers. Great answers.
All right, quick. Well, that wraps that up. Yes. Now, I don't know if you ladies want to share. We can put it in the show notes if you want to share your handles for the people.
You don't have to.
No. Please follow me on Twitter at Dr. G Site. I'm trying to hit my 2,000 followers mark. So, go ahead and hit me up. Hey. Follow me, please.
I'm at AshMills08 on Instagram. So please feel free to follow me.
Yes, and
we might like some of the stuff that I post.
We will have the information in our show notes. Thank you guys for being with us. This has been thoroughly enjoyable and informative.
Yes. And I forgot, I didn't want too much shade. I forgot to tell, I don't know if I've told them they're sorority sisters, but you've seen the antics. I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah, the spirit was moving.
I mean,
the green wall I see, there was the green on the walls.
I appreciate her for wearing red today.
First of all, it's heart disease awareness. Don't do this.
Exactly. It is pink goes red. Don't even
That's
do it.
That's what happens.
All this red and purple up here.
I think I look nice in this intensified
You look amazing.
Pink. Thank you. This intensified
you look
pink.
amazing in it.
Mm-hmm. Congrats again, Quinn.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. I'll be joining y'all soon.
Right. Old married lady.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Divas, in between time, we say have a great attitude.
All right. Bye.